Hello everyone and welcome to 555 Barbershop, your home for comprehensive tutorials on barbering. In this video, I'm going to show you how to perform a drop skin fade with a disconnection on top. This is a detailed video and I'll be explaining each step as we go along. This video features an actual customer in a real-life barbershop environment during normal business hours to give it a realistic feel. Stay tuned for the finished product, the best part, which I've saved for last. So please make sure to watch this video all the way through until the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any new tutorials. Now, without further hesitation, let us begin. The first thing I do when starting a drop fade is establish the guideline. I personally prefer to set my guideline about 1 centimeter above the ear. This gives me enough room to blend and balance out my fade. For this part, I'm using the 22 Stinger by Caliber. Next, I remove the hair from underneath the guideline with a trimmer that's zero gapped. The trimmer that I'm using in this video is the 22 Stinger by Caliber. I just want to add that on a side note, I have two of these machines. I have one that is right out of the box. It's not zero gapped. And I have this one here that I actually took the time to set the blades closely together so that they're able to remove as much hair as possible, because I'm gonna get ready to use the electric foil shaver behind this. And I want the foil shaver to do the work very quickly. I want it to cut as closely as possible without getting jammed up. So I use one trimmer to make the guideline, and then I go with a tighter trimmer to remove the hair underneath. That's just the way that I do it because it works well for me. After removing whatever hair was underneath the bald line, I go behind it with an electric foil shaver. The electric foil shaver I'm using is the RPG by Caliber. Notice how I go all the way up to the line, but I'm not on top of the line. The last thing I want to do with this machine is to make another hard line. This is the RPG by Caliber, and I like it because it has this little blade in the back. So while I was making this video, I actually left a couple of hairs behind the ear, and flicking this little blade out enabled me to just cut the hair. It was probably like 1 or 2 hairs, but I didn't have to go back and get another clipper just to do that. So it saves me some time. Now that I've got the baldness established, I can move on to my favorite part. You guys that know me well know that I love to take out the bald line, especially with these wonderful machines. This is my favorite machine by caliber. It's called the 50 cal mag, and it's super fast, and it's amazing. It allows me to take out the bald line very quickly, very efficiently, and I love it to pieces. And this is the first thing that I do after I establish the baldness on the side. I immediately set out to take that line out. Most barbers are gonna find that taking out the bald line is the hardest thing to do. So in fear of spending a lot of time doing that, I try to knock that out as soon as possible. And that's the reason why I've elected to take this step before anything else. The 50 cal mag has these 5 little notches on the side that click into place. And what I'm doing here is that I'm going through each one, and every time I pass over that line, I close it further and further. And I work my way down simultaneously until that line is erased. Buy a good set of clippers, they're gonna come with a nice set of guards. And for beginners, what I want you guys to do is to get all of those guards and put them in size order. Here you can see me starting with a much higher guard and searching for when the clipper actually does cut the hair. So I'm working my way down from higher guards to the smaller guards, and when I actually find something like I just did here, I go with it. I think it's important for new barbers to understand their tools in this manner. In this video, now that I've found the guard to begin with, I'm going to now work my way down from that guard to the smaller guards. I'm not going to make any more guidelines. From here on out, I'm just going to follow the original guideline, and I'm just going to work my way down simultaneously, making sure that I close my lever and close the blade with each guard that I use. And I work my way all the way down until that guideline has been blended out. That's the simple way to do it when you're first starting out. There are more techniques, there are more advanced techniques, but for beginners, I feel that this is the safest way to go about it. So here you see that I'm using a much smaller guard than the guards that I originally started with. As you can see, with each guard I'm using, I am beginning with the blade fully extended, and as I continue to work my way downward, I close that blade little by little with that guard on. And every time I put a guard on, I repeat the same steps. And as you can see, the line is slowly beginning to blend itself out. Finally, I get to the smallest guard, which is, I believe, the 1/16th. And this is the guard that's going to tie it all together. This is the guard that brings the fade together. And I take it easy with this guard. I use all the notches on the machine to make sure that I get everything just right. The clipper that I'm using is called the 357 Magnum by Caliber. This is the third generation of this model. While I'm fading, notice my hand movements. Notice that I'm not flicking, but rather scooping. This is the kind of hand movement that I feel is going to bring out the best in this kind of machine. When you're trying to work on a drop fade, one of the hardest things that you're going to find, as a matter of fact, it's going to be the hardest thing. The hardest thing about a drop fade is the area behind the ears. The reason why is because there are bones there that protrude slightly, and they cause the fade to look uneven. Even if you did a good job, the light hits these bones and you can see the little hills and valleys appearing, and it casts little slight shadows onto the fade that make the fade appear to look like you didn't do a good job. And so the barber has to go in there and fix it, and that's what takes so much time out of a barber's day when he's doing these drop fades. Okay, so once I'm done fading it, I immediately set out to create the corners and the C-cups. And one of the first things I want to do is remove unwanted hair, especially when you have a customer that has this much hair on top. Usually you'll find that towards the top there are just these little annoying baby hairs that keep popping out. You want to make sure that you grab those with the comb. Now here you can see that I'm making a C-cup. I enjoy making C-cups that are slightly tighter than your average 90-degree C-cup. I just like it that way. You can choose to make whatever C-cup you want to make. There are many different styles that you can choose from. This may seem challenging to do at first, but I assure you that as you go along and as you continue to practice, the muscles that are involved in these exercises are going to develop, and you'll have a nice steady hand. This trimmer is called the Monster 99 by Caliber. Whenever you find a client with this much hair, the last thing you want to do while giving him a shape up in the front is to remove a whole bunch of hair. So what I do is I take the long hair, I pull it back with one hand, and with a clipper, I just buzz down whatever hairs I feel are going to get in the way. And this ensures that the lineup is nice and tight, nice and sharp, without sacrificing the length of the hair on top. After I'm done with the lineup, I go back with a razor and clean up my work. The razor allows me to further accentuate the line so that it looks more attractive. To achieve a well-defined C-cup, it's important to stretch that skin just like I'm doing here. It's also important to hold the razor delicately while performing this exercise. The idea is to allow the razor to pass over the skin and slice the hair, not dig into the skin, not scrape the skin. So you don't want to press down. You don't want to create any irritation to the client. Just let the razor pass over the skin and cut the hair. Let the razor do its job. All you have to do is just hold it in place and hold it delicately. Make sure you take your time, breathe easy, hold the razor lightly, and stretch the skin whenever you're using a razor on a client's head. With practice, you'll get better. The client has asked me to remove some hair off the top. What he's actually looking for is what I call a 3-finger length. 3-finger length means that the hair is not going to be any longer than the 3 of my fingers underneath my index finger. So what I do is I grab the hair with all my fingers like this, and I cut whatever comes out from in between my index and middle finger. This is an old technique that requires no subsectioning and no cross-checking, as it is all-inclusive. It's a very easy technique. It was taught to me by an old barber. And in New Jersey, where we live, most men really don't allow their hair to grow anywhere longer than this. Most guys. Every now and then you'll find somebody who wants to have their hair longer, but that's very rare. The way that I'm cutting his hair now is going to allow him maximum mobility. He'll be able to comb his hair to the left, to the right, to the front, to the back, any which way. It'll lay right. After this, you can style it however you want or according to the client's preference. If you've done everything correctly, your blend should look more or less like this. Thanks for watching. All my equipment can be found at caliberprocorp.com. For purchases, use my discount code 555.